And Professor Ritschl, this is something that you have written about a lot, particularly in the last 5 years. Where is Germany right now in terms of understanding its own history of debt relief?
Not very far, I'm afraid to say. It is still news to most people in Germany, although I've been talking and writing about these things for quite a number of years now. And I'm not the first one. So out in the industry, among academics, it is a known thing. And this is not the only debt relief. Germany already benefited from debt relief in the Great Depression in 1932, the end of reparations, which was the cause of Germany's economic recovery in the 1930s. So it's not one debt relief, it's at least two, if not more.
Germany is justifiably proud of what it calls its economic miracle of the last half-century. Can we tie the debt relief it received in 1953 from its creditors to the economic miracle?
Absolutely. Probably not as a sufficient condition, but certainly as a necessary condition. We'll say there were other things that were important too, but it's very, very hard to imagine how Germany could have dealt with a sizable debt burden, and it was very sizable, have made the foreign exchange, could have balanced its budgets, could have had an inflation-free currency, and still have paid this debt. That's simply very hard to imagine.
Professor Paul DeGuara at your LSE talks a lot about everybody facing reality and moving on to what has been done in Latin America. That takes a change in attitude. Do you sense a German generational change in attitude, in culture, and in society that will get us to some debt accommodation?
Well, I'm not Paul DeGuara. He's a colleague of mine at the LSE. There is probably some generational change simply because the younger generation is more pro-European. Everybody is traveling around. It has become entirely commonplace to spend a gap year abroad and all these things. So yes, these things are probably a little bit going by generations. And I notice it very strongly when I talk to older folks. They still think very strongly in terms of the nation state. Younger folks basically consider the different countries in Europe to be like different states of the United States. It's a very drastic change in mentality.
Professor, we've got just a little bit of time left, but real quick, when you look at the language coming from Berlin right now is no to what they call a classical haircut. How do you interpret that? Would they extend the terms, if not a classic haircut?
I have to say they have already applied a haircut in the sense of it extending the maturity, and everybody in Berlin is shouting that at me, that in present value this is already a 50% reduction. So they are very impatient with the situation, but really what it's all about is explaining that to their own public. That's the difficulty, walking out and explaining that to the Germans.